Hey y'all,
What's up, y'all?
I'm Elise,
I'm Will.
and this is
Team
Team
Tatum.
Tatum. Team Tatum!
We are continuing our journey on the 1001 movies you must watch before you die, 2020 edition. And today's movie is the 1939 political drama Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, starring James Stewart and Jean Arthur. Plot synopsis of this movie is: a naive youth leader is appointed to fill a vacancy in the U.S. Senate. His idealistic plans promptly collide with corruption at home and subterfuge from his hero in Washington, but he tries to forge ahead despite attacks on his character.
Amen.
Amen. Now, she knows this already. You guys don't know this. If you watched our other review of Mr. D Goes to Town, which is also directed by Frank Capra, who I didn't mention directed this movie, this is the intended sequel.
Would have been.
Didn't know that this movie was on the list. That was just something I found in the trivia, and then I was like, because she was wondering what it would be like for a sequel, even though it wasn't a real for real sequel. It started off and they wound up changing it, which is what happened. But in looking that up of where I could find it, I found out it's on the list. I'm like, what a coincidence. Kill two birds, one stone. Anywho, what wound up happening was Gary Cooper he had some other conflict, like some other movie going on, so he couldn't do it. And Jean Arthur was already attached. She was the love interest in Mr. D Goes to Town. So they reworked the script to not be Mr. D's. So he was just a random guy from a random area. It's taken from a screenplay called The Man from Montana. So
That's where he was from.
They never, throughout the whole movie, they never say what state he's representing as a senator. They never say Democrat or Republican in the movie. No concrete details. Like they talk about my state this, my state that.
Yeah.
But
my town.
Yeah.
All of that stuff.
But
we're like, what town?
They basically didn't want to offend nobody or upset nobody, which is crazy because mad people was offended by this movie. So you had the people in government who were like, you're shedding a light on stuff that we don't want you shedding a light on. You shouldn't release this movie. Like they tried to get this movie not released because I think it cost, I don't remember the exact numbers, but let's say they offered him $2 million to not release this movie because it cost $1 million to make it. They're like, we'll double what you spent. Don't release this movie. And they released it anyway, and they wound up making like 3 times the amount that
$3 million.
But yeah, so the government people didn't want to come out, and then the super patriotic people were like, this isn't my America. We would never do such a thing like that. This is, propaganda. Get this movie out of here. And then surprisingly, European markets banned the movie for a number of years because it would hurt relations with the US if their people thought that that's how it was. So yeah, it was a bunch of people like, you're gonna ruin everything releasing this movie. So basically what happens is there's this guy named Mr. Smith, played by James Stewart. You may know him from It's a Wonderful Life, which happens before this movie, and the majority of the people in this movie apparently are in It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life.
We've seen It's a Wonderful Life. I'm personally not a fan.
Yeah, I like that movie when I watched it. Yes.
I don't remember liking it.
You liked it. This guy.
Anywho, getting back on topic. Mr. Smith is played by James Stewart, and he's regular Joe. And he's not a senator. Like, he's not a political guy. But he gets picked by some shady political people to just be a stooge. Like, they just need somebody to be dumb and sit in the seat, and then they'll tell him what to do.
Yeah.
or whatever.
His daddy was in politics back in the day.
Knew that.
I know, but I'm just saying he was.
He was. Yeah. Once one of the people.
He was like, "Oh, you his son?"
Yeah, he
was my good dear friend.
He didn't recognize him, but James Stewart's character, Mrs. Smith, what was his name? I don't remember his first name. Jefferson Smith. That's why I forgot that. Never would have thought
Jeff.
of that. But anyway, yeah, Jeff remembers one of the guys. He's like, "You used to work with my dad," or whatever. And he was like, "You're so and so Smith's son. Like, I haven't seen you since you were knee-high to a duck." And so now he feels the type of way because he's like, I was with it when it was some random stooge, but now that I know the boy, like even though I ain't seen him in like 20 years, now I feel bad about it. Also, unbelievable to me, James Stewart was the same age in real life as his character was supposed to be in the movie, which was 31.
I can see it. You thought he was older?
Yeah.
He looked
I mean, he wasn't like 50 or nothing, but
he looked 31 for that time. You know, they looked a bit older back then.
But yeah, so they think they just gonna, tell him to go sit, roll over, play dead, all that stuff, and turns out that he don't know nothing about nothing.
He got scruples.
But yeah, he's got plans.
That young brother got hard.
Oh shit, this nigga got hard.
And he's basically the same thing as Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. It's actually like pretty much the same plot, just politics instead of being rich.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, this is stupid. I'm not gonna vote on this bill. Well, not vote, but I'm not gonna vote this way on this bill. Like, what about the people? What's it? For the people, by the people, all that jazz or whatever. So he's real tight. Like, he's a leader of the boys.
It was basically Boy Scouts.
It was the Boy Scouts. Also, the Boy Scouts were like, screw you, Frank Capra. We don't want any parts of this. Remove our name from this movie. Like, they caught wind of it, and they were like, if you release this movie with our name and insignia and stuff, we suing the mess out of y'all. So they had to change it.
So basically the Boy Scouts.
I mean, yeah, it is what it's supposed to be, but they legally couldn't use Boy Scouts. There was a lot of like, I will break your legs stuff going on behind the scenes of the movie.
And we always talk about how people are so sensitive today. Turns out they've been that way.
Like, it's a movie, bro. Like, calm down. But yeah, they were really not having it with that. Just the thought of government officials getting their palms greased or whatever. And
if he bad guy, he bad guy.
Yeah, like, whatever. I don't know why we act like there's stuff not going on. But, I mean, whatever. So he gets there and he wants to do stuff for the boys. Basically, he wants to create this camp where kids from all over the country, no matter what creed, race, whatever, can come and enjoy this camp and learn about survival skills and,
the great outdoors
and all that stuff. But the land he wants to do it on is the land that this rich guy wants to build a dam on or whatever, right? Like, he's got everything set up to build this dam, and he just wanted all the people who had their palms greased to just let this bill slide through or whatever. And he's just like, no one knows about it other than the people within the deal.
Yeah.
And so it's written in a way where it's under the radar.
Yeah, and it seems like it's beneficial to the people that live there and everything. So they're like, we'll just keep this on the positive note, slide it through, and get Joe, what do they call it? Joe whatever. Joe Public. Oh. We'll get a Joe Public to come fill this seat and have him vote for it too, so that we'll have more votes on our side and push it through, basically. And they didn't realize that he, as William said already, would actually read into stuff and make sure it was actually good for people before voting with him, and they did not appreciate that.
That's all. So once they found out he wasn't gonna play ball, they started slandering that man's name.
Terribly.
Calling up papers, telling them to print that, you know, he's unpatriotic and he, you know, this and that or whatever. Also, newspapers didn't want this movie to come out because they were like, we would never.
We write the truth.
And
that's been debunked so many times in movies.
Right. But yeah, I think the Washington Post was one of them. Mm-hmm. The whole Washington D.C. was just like anti this movie.
Anybody that was represented in this movie was against this movie.
It was hilarious. It was all kind of like threats and stuff going on. Like that's what most of the trivia is, just like threats and whatnot. There's a scene where, so when Mrs. Smith first gets to town, he don't question nothing. Like when they ask him to do it, he's like, yeah, sure. I don't know nothing about politics, but I'll do it. Yeah. And he goes off sightseeing. So his character is a history buff. Like he loves American history, specifically American history.
Specifically George Washington and Abraham Lincoln.
Yes,
anything related to them.
Anything related to them. He can recite any of their speeches like by heart. So he's supposed to go to the office the first day. He's just like, no, I'm gonna go sightseeing. He don't tell nobody. He just decide he's going off on his own side quest.
He said it was an accident, that he was going to look at one thing and then got on a bus thinking it was the bus to take him back, and it ended up being a sightseeing bus. He was like, well, I'm going sightseeing.
I mean, but he took his time. Like I
he didn't try to get back.
It was an accident, but he wasn't like, oh snap, like let me stay on this bus so we can make his rotation back.
Yeah,
I'm already out.
Might as well.
So he goes and sees, the Washington Monument and the Jefferson Memorial, all this stuff. And he gets to the Lincoln Memorial, and the scene where the little boy was reading the inscription, and his like grandfather, I suppose, was with him. Guerrilla footage. They would not let them film at the whatchamacallit. And so undercover. Now, how you do undercover in 1939 with them big old cameras? Yeah. I have no idea. I know how to do guerrilla stuff nowadays because you got small, little bitty cameras. You can be discreet. Them big old joints they had. Have no idea how they were doing run and gun shooting, but Frank Capra was just like, I'm gonna record this little boy reciting this thing with his grandpa. It's a great shot.
It was a good shot.
But yeah, not like legal or whatever. Now, how I don't know how that stuff works. Or after the fact, but obviously it happened. Gene Arthur, not a fan of James Stewart.
I heard a lot of people weren't a fan of him. Like he was a racist and such in Big Life, in real life.
She didn't like him. She didn't dislike him for that reason. She called the boy soft. She was like, he's no man like Gary Cooper. Apparently she really wanted Gary Cooper back. Her words were, he's a little too cute. And I was like, it's too cute? 1939 for gay? Because that's a new one for me.
I don't think it was.
She was like, he's a little too cute, and like was adamant that he wasn't like manly like Gary Cooper was. So she was just like, I'm gonna do my scenes and then I'm getting off set. Like, don't talk to me. But she was not about hanging out with him longer than her scene had to be. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. It culminates with them. He has his own I forgot to mention, he has his own newspaper, like little small, what was it called? Like a little publication.
It wasn't his. It was the Boy Scout newspaper. It was the Boy Scout,
but he like helps run it or whatever. And some of them, because half of them turned their pens in. Like they took their little lapel pins off.
They all got back on board once they found out what was going on, but they did all. All of them took their lapel pins off. I was like, garbage.
They were talking greasy about that.
You ain't no king.
Like it went south so fast.
Give me my 5 cents back.
Like they was holding like rallies and stuff. Like, and the few people who was on his side, so people who were on his side were doing protests, like, let this man talk or whatever. and all that, because he started filibustering once he realized what everything was. He was just like, I can't let this bill pass, so I'm just gonna filibuster. And they was hosing people. Like the police, like the rich guy had every important person in his pocket. He had the newspapers in his pocket. He had the radio stations in his pocket. You know, they were saying stuff crazy on the radio. They were printing crazy stuff in the newspaper.
They ran over some kids.
Yeah, they ran over some kids. The Boy Scout kids.
They were distributing the newspapers.
They broke their wagons, ran over their bikes. Like, when the people were in the streets protesting, the cops showed up with water hoses and sprayed them. I was like, I've never seen white people treated like this before.
Right.
It's crazy. I was like, in America, like,
right.
1939 is wild. But they was not having. They was hushing all of that up, burning newspapers that were saying opposite of what, you know, the rich guy wanted them to say. Just like mob activity, like come over, break your kneecaps,
and not trying to sneak into it either. They were like right out in the open, so it seems like people would have been like, maybe they're not telling the truth about this. Nope, they're still like, they telling the truth. This man is trash. Let's get him out of here. Right.
I mean, the other senators were just like, this man is a joke. He's a stain on the U.S. Senate. Or whatever. Like, nobody was his friend except for Jean Arthur and like
one more person
before it finally started like clicking. Like, like she said, like maybe he's got some validity.
He's pretty adamant about this. He's been talking for 72 hours straight.
Right.
Maybe he's not lying.
Him having the horse voice, he wanted an authentic horse voice. So in between takes, they rubbed his tonsils with some chemical or whatever, and it caused his throat to swell a little bit, like back there.
Yeah,
and he gave him the horse. I was like, you couldn't just act
because it didn't sound real.
But
mission not accomplished. It sounded like he was like, man, brothers of the Senate. That's how he sounded. He did not need to do all that.
Does going to the bathroom count?
Yep. He can't leave at all.
That man was talking. They said he was talking for like.
Yeah. He didn't drink any water or anything. He did eat some food though, but he didn't drink any water while he was in there.
It was some like you said, some days.
And he passed out.
He did finally pass out. I don't think it's fair that Jean Arthur was giving him cues. Like, she was up in the balcony telling him like what to and not to say, like giving him like a coach on a baseball field, giving him hand signals and stuff. The
president of the Senate was watching him. He's like, adorable. Go on.
I'd have been like, hey, get this woman out of here, man. She don't belong in here.
She was part of the visiting part. She did belong in there.
You're doing too much. You're interfering with what we're doing. But yeah, the good guys win. They don't pass the bill. The Boy Scouts
get their
land. The rich guy, they don't really show what happens. They kind of tell, because the senator who knew his dad finally like loses it after this guy went
above and beyond.
He went Kendrick versus Drake on this board. I'm like, I thought this was your boy's son.
Right.
And finally guilt got to him. He was like, you know what? I can't do it no more. His daddy was my boy.
I've been lying about everything, y'all.
Yeah, so he got up in front of everybody, said he was lying, and that he was, Jefferson is telling the truth, and everything he said about the rich guy, like, I was working for him, I did all this stuff. Also, this dude over here, that dude over here, like, you threw it.
We all in on it, y'all.
So
the jig is up.
The jig is up and gone.
They got their somewhat comeuppance, but you don't really see it. And then the movie just ends with him and Jean Arthur hugging at the end or whatever, like it's just roll credits. So just as an abrupt ending as Mr. Deeds goes to town. At the end of the day, it took us 2 sittings to watch this movie. So the first attempt was late at night, which was a no-no that I should have known, especially for an older movie,
because they tend to be, slower paced. The older I get, the earlier I gotta start a movie, unless it's like constant stimulation going on, I'm gonna fall asleep. Even if I'm into the movie, if the pacing is too slow, my brain doesn't have enough to keep it from not going to sleep on my routine, then I'm gonna fall asleep. So she went to sleep on commercials. I was apparently
one commercial
falling asleep during the movie, and so she was like, why don't we put a pin in this, come back to it another day? And I was like, great idea. Immediately went to sleep. Went back to it the second night and went back a couple scenes and finished it up. Even though we watched it much earlier in the evening, it was still, slower paced. The most exciting thing that happened, it wasn't exciting, but was just my brain was really locked in, was once the rich guy started saying, by any means necessary, don't let his paper, don't let the boys' paper get out, don't let protesters protest, because that little montage was wild. What you got to?
I agree that the first half was slow. It was a very slow build. However, the second half did not feel slow to me. And it might also be because I am interested in politics and that kind of stuff. So it was entertaining me. But I didn't feel like the second half went slow when we watched it the next day. And something that I wanted to mention that happened in the movie, when Mr. Smith found out about the papers. Well, first, before that, he had a press day with a bunch of people from the press, and they were just talking to him, and then they were like, hey, can you show us how it is when you hunt and this kind of stuff? And so he was doing these different movements, and they were taking pictures of him and then made stories that were 100% lies.
Just for clickbait, basically.
Yeah.
They were baiting them into talking passionately about Boy Scout stuff, and at the same time taking it out of context, on purpose, taking it out of context and making them seem this is who you got in the Senate or whatever. Again, similar to Mr. D's.
So after that, Mr. Smith saw one of the newspapers because people were giggling at him as he walked past them and stuff, and he was like, what is so funny? And he saw the newspaper, saw the fake headline, and he basically went to where the press hangs out and was just walking down the street, bam, 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 just walking and punching people. They were like, hey, what's going on? And then at one point, it was the actual press room at the Senate, and they were like, he coming, y'all. They're trying to barricade the door, he coming. Hide if you didn't get punched already. He came in there, knocked them out too. And so then, of course, they had those headlines to run that he is an angry, aggressive man.
They did stop him at the end. They were just like, hey, once he got into the room for law, he did punch a couple of people in there, but then they dogpiled on him and sat him off in a chair. It was like, hey, there's a lot more of us in here than you need to chill out. All we're doing is our job. You doing your job, we doing our job. You can't get mad at us for that. His hair all disheveled or whatever. He was putting in work. He was punching any press person he can get his hands on.
I feel like he could have taken the room still, even though it was more of them than him. And so that's one thing I wanted to mention. And then another was when the senator that he knew already, when he found out who Mr. Smith's dad was, he was talking about him. I was like, yeah, he was a real upstanding guy. All he wanted to do was what was right. And then they found him with a bullet in his back. Apparently somebody killed him. And I feel like the big boss man that was running them, Mr. Taylor, I feel like he had something to do with that too, but they didn't go any further into the story than that. Like, they didn't bring it up again. And I just knew that once they found out about Mr. Taylor, because he
Mr. Taylor
wasn't in the picture yet at the time, but once they found out about him and Mr. Smith had basically exposed him and stuff, I was hoping / thinking that the other senator, whose name I do not remember, would be like, also, he had your daddy killed, but that didn't come back.
I was thinking, obviously I was thinking the same things we were talking about during the movie, but I thought he was more so gonna be like, I had my suspicions that he killed your dad or whatever, because he was one of the things that Mr. Taylor was trying to do, your dad was, against. And that's a storyline, like you said, we both were waiting on. Like, once
they're gonna bring this back.
Yeah, they're gonna bring it back up, and it's gonna be like, oh snap, he's the guy who killed your daddy. But no, that was it. They just dropped it.
Yeah, but I also feel that way, what you just said about him having suspicions that Mr. Taylor did it, and he hadn't gone that far before. However, that's why everybody was so scared of him now, because they were like, oh, he'll kill you. He's reached the limit. There's nothing that he won't do if you don't do what he says. I felt like that was part of it too. But still, this is all assumptions because they didn't say nothing about it.
All right.
Again, I don't feel like it drug on the second half. It was pretty entertaining to me. And him trying to come up with different stuff to talk about during his filibuster. I was wondering, what would I talk about if I had to filibuster? And I just basically probably go through my whole life story, starting from my earliest memory up to the day that I'm doing the filibuster. But that did entertain me. How Jean Arthur was trying to communicate with him from the balconies was funny to me. And people around her were like, what are you doing, girl? And then even, like I said earlier, the president of the Senate was watching her just to see how she would try to give him messages next. I like that. But I did like this movie. And I do think that it deserves to be on the list, just because of how many people were upset about it coming out, because they were telling, what is it that people say? They were saying the quiet part out loud. Yeah. Telling truths that people didn't want to be exposed. So I feel like for that reason that it should have been on the list. And you definitely should watch it because it is very similar to today's situations that are going on in the United States. So it would give you an entertaining version of what's going on right now, and you can compare and contrast as you will after watching it to see how things are actually being handled.
And again, it's from 1939, so stuff going on now in 2026 is looking just like it did in 1939. So it's like, we ain't went nowhere. Like, it's the same old pony show.
History always repeats itself. But do you think that this movie deserves to be on the list?
I do not. I liked Mr. and I'm not. I mean, I am, but it's not the point of comparison. I enjoyed Mr. Deeds Goes to Town way more than this. Like,
oh, I did too.
I would watch that next week or whatever, right? Like, I'm not watching all the time, but I'd watch that next week. I never plan on rewatching this ever, but I didn't think Mr. Deeds Goes to Town should have been on the list, even though I enjoyed it. Like, you don't have to, I'm not going to strong arm you into watching it. This I was bored to tears with because I'm not remotely into American history and politics, like, whatsoever. So the subject matter I wasn't feeling.
He wasn't the target audience.
Yeah, I wasn't the target
for this
audience.
movie.
It was, shot well and all that stuff. James Stewart and Gene Arthur did a, good job or whatever. It's funny that they're the two leads and they have distinct voices. Like James Stewart has this, you hear his voice, that's him. And then Gene Arthur, the same way.
I feel like she has the female version of his voice almost.
No, she got like a
like,
weird.
Come and see me sometimes. That's how she sounded, and he's like, "What's going on here?" the same voice,
just different pitches.
Yeah.
She the chipmunk version of his voice.
Yeah.
But yeah, this I wouldn't run you down to be like, "Have you watched this movie yet? Have you watched this movie yet? It's great." So yeah, don't put it on the list. Frank Capra, you get one.
You don't would watch this movie again.
I ain't watch it.
We're a split house in here. So I would watch this again, and I would recommend people to watch this movie. And I did like it. But let's get to these ratings, why don't we? What would you give Mr. Smith Goes to Washington?
I would give Mr. Smith Goes to Washington 2 Cowboy Ninjas out of 5. And yourself?
I would give Mr. Smith Goes to Washington 3.5 Cowboy Ninjas out of 5, which is an average of, I don't know, like 2.75 Cowboy Ninjas out of 5.
I don't know.
We don't know math like that. I'll put it on the screen.
But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. If you've seen it, let us know. Comment below. If you want to watch it again, it's on Tubi.
The ads would get you on Tubi. I feel like if the ads weren't there,
I mean, that
it
would help.
Be easier to watch some of the stuff that's on the list. But they have 12-minute gaps in between for each ad break.
True.
But sorry, go on. It's on Tubi.
I mean, that was it.
Well, thank y'all for watching. God bless. Good night.
We'll see you on some more of our journey of 1001 movies you must watch before you die.
If you have not yet, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already. Subscribe to us if you are. Appreciate you. And again, let us know in the comments whether you have or have not seen this movie, or if you plan on watching this movie after hearing our review. Thank you.
And this has been another episode of Team Tatum.